Alright, this is part 2 of the parallel readings. The previous video is of a bad reading, a bad example, in which I did not prepare and I did not read as an interpreter. I read merely as a reader who was going through the words, and some of them I did not read correctly because of that. This time I'm going to be reading for meaning, and I'm also going to be reading for feeling. Sometimes the meaning of a sentence can be changed incredibly just simply by the tone of your voice. Now remember, as I said before, the only weapon that you have is your voice. They can't see your face, they can't read your intent. Many times they're not going to have the book open in front of them. So the only interpretational device you have are the tones of your voice. Alright. So now this time I'm going to read this as I would like it to be read. That doesn't mean I'm not going to make mistakes. As you know, as a reader, you're going to make mistakes as you go through. Then you would stop. You would have 3 seconds of silence, a loud noise so that it could be seen on the screen, and then another 3 seconds of silence. I'm not going to do that in here because the main purpose of this recording is to show you how to read with feeling. Read a difficult, a more archaic type of book with feeling. So we're using the same sample, In the Reign of Terror by G.A. Henty, and I am just going to read through it as though I was doing a recording. In the Reign of Terror, The Adventures of a Westminster Boy by G.A. Henty. Preface. My dear lads, this time only a few words are needed, for the story speaks for itself. My object has been rather to tell you a tale of interest than to impart historical knowledge, for the facts of the dreadful time when the Terror reigned supreme in France are well known to all educated lads. I need only say that such historical allusions as are necessary for the sequence of the story will be found correct, except that the noyades at Nantes did not take place until a somewhat later period than is here assigned to them. Yours sincerely, G.A. Henty. Chapter 1. A Journey to France. I don't know what to say, my dear. Why, surely, James, you're not thinking for a moment of letting him go? Well, I don't know. Yes, I am certainly thinking of it, though I haven't at all made up my mind. There are advantages and disadvantages. Oh, but it's such a long way, and to live among those French people who have been doing such dreadful things, attacking the Bastille, and as I've heard you say, passing all sorts of revolutionary laws, and holding their king and queen almost as prisoners in Paris. Well, they won't eat him, my dear. The French Assembly, or the National Assembly, or whatever it ought to be called, has certainly been passing laws limiting the power of the king and abolishing many of the rights and privileges of the nobility and clergy. But you must remember that the condition of the vast body of the French nation has been terrible. We have long conquered our liberties, and indeed never even in the height of the feudal system were the mass of the English people more enslaved as have been the peasants of France. We must not be surprised, therefore, if in their newly recovered freedom they push matters to excess at first. But all this will right itself, and no doubt a constitutional form of government, somewhat similar to our own, will be established. But all this is no reason against Harry's going out there. You don't suppose that the French people are going to fly at the throats of the nobility? Why, even in the heat of the Civil War here, there was no instance of any personal wrong being done to the families of those engaged in the struggle, and in only 2 or 3 cases, after repeated risings, were any even of the leaders executed. No, Harry will be just as safe there as he would be here. As to the distance, it's nothing like so far as if he went to India, for example. I don't see any great chance of his setting the Thames on fire at home. His school reports are always the same. Conduct, fair, progress in study moderate. Which means, as I take it, that he just scrapes along. That's it, isn't it, Harry? Yes, father, I think so. You see everyone cannot be at the top of the form. It's a very true observation, my boy. It is clear that if there are 20 boys in a class, 19 fathers have been disappointed. Still, of course, one would like to be the father who is not disappointed. I stick to my work, the boy said. But there are always fellows who seem to know just the right words without taking any trouble about it. It comes to them, I suppose. What do you say to this idea yourself, Harry? I don't know, sir, the boy said doubtfully. And I don't know, his father agreed. At any rate, we will sleep upon it. I am clear that the offer is not to be lightly rejected. Dr. Sandwith was a doctor in Chelsea. Chelsea in the year 1790 was a very different place to Chelsea of the present day. It was a pretty suburban hamlet, and was indeed a very fashionable quarter. Here many of the nobility and personages connected with the court had their houses, and broad country fields and lanes separated it from the stir and din of London. Dr. Sandwith had a good practice, but he also had a large family. Harry was at Westminster, going backwards and forwards across the field to school. So far he had evinced no predilection to any special career. He was a sturdy, well-built lad of some 16 years old. He was, as his father said, not likely to set the Thames on fire in any way. He was as undistinguished in the various sports popular among boys in those days as he was in his lessons. He was as good as the average, but no better. He had fought some tough fights with boys of his own age, and had shown endurance rather than brilliancy. In the ordinary course of things, he would probably in 3 or 4 years' time have chosen some profession, and indeed his father had already settled in his mind that as Harry was not likely to make any great figure in life in the way of intellectual capacity, the best thing would be to obtain for him a commission in his Majesty's service, as to which, with the doctor's connection among people of influence, there would be not any difficulty. He had, however, said nothing as yet to the boy on the subject. All right. As you can see, like I said, I stumbled some, just as you will be likely to do, and you will make sure to follow the directions for pointing out those stumbles. But I tried very hard to set apart the different voices. Think of this as a scene in a movie, as a performance, rather than merely words on a page. So look through it first and make sure that you have clear in your mind who is speaking and how you want them to sound. The other thing is, these are English people, but I have not given it in an English accent because I'm not English. And at my current level, and honestly at your current level of performance, it would merely distract to have a fake English accent. So read strongly, put all of your focus on giving a strong performance of good material rather than giving all of the different accents and voices. We are going to work into those, but it may take us a while. And also, when you hit a spot like this, Dr. Sandwith was a doctor in Chelsea, make sure that you put extra emphasis on pulling out the meaning of those words, because that's where you're going to lose people's interest. Make sure that you keep clear in your mind the different characters, that you're following the different characters, and following the feelings that they're having at the time.